Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. It's Thursday, it's February 19th. This will be our chart lesson for today. Um, Another big range day, really just a from about 2088 to about 2099. So about 11-point range. Nice trend both ways. We never really we tried to get back in the lower half early this morning, and we just kind of meandered around. And there's probably two tiers within each of these two tiers if you start looking for the lines and so forth. But really, all you had to do is play the short-term trend lines, and everything pretty much played out perfectly almost. Um, there's a Started out with a trend working down. You got the break, two legs down to a new low. Uh, we didn't quite get a new low, but that's close enough. It's close enough for this trend anyway. Notice it's moving down. There's your low. So it was a new low. We didn't get a new low for the day, but we did get a new low for the trend. So it worked out. It worked out exactly as it was supposed to. Then we're working up. We got a break here, um, but the market got really strong from that point on. And then we got another break here and a couple of legs up, and we turned down. So this one took a little bit of nerve. I actually traded this one myself, so I know it took a little bit of nerve to enter it. But it's a nice two-legged pull back to the EMA, and you're getting resistance. You got a lot of support right across there, and you get that little trap. And it's a repeat pattern, much similar to that one. I don't have the line on there, but let me just draw it. And you can see that's that little trap. I love those setups. And you can see it right here. Breaks lower and turns up. And I went back and forth whether or not to make that one green. At the time, if you're looking at that on the very hard right of the chart, that's really bearish. That's going to be hard to take. So it is way away from the EMA, and yeah, I probably should make it green. I really probably should, because there's going to be some traders. I wanted to take it. I talked myself out of it. And then, of course, I was mad because I did. But you got another chance to enter here, and this was the one that really runners. You had a runner here, and this you just ride this all the way to the top at least till you get a break and then a move to a new high. And so this was a really nice setup here, and this turned out to be another good setup. Again, I was a little hesitant to want to take it myself, but worked out great. And then you had the trend working down a break. You didn't quite get a new low here, but the previous resistance area in here held the support, and we kind of worked higher. We couldn't really notice that we tested 2099. I think we got to, what was the high of the day? Let's just look. We're two ticks away from getting to that 2100, that magic 2100, but that's kind of the way it goes. It takes a little while to get there sometimes, and um, those areas are real emotional. Those century marks, they're real emotional, psychological type areas where you're going to get a lot of, there's a lot of people that will automatically sell it, and there's a lot of people that as we get close will buy it trying to get there, and so it's not unusual to see exactly what we're seeing every time you get around one of those areas. But let's back out, talk about the trades, and wrap it up for this Thursday. When you see two legs up and then two legs down like that and it kind of holds, that's a good clue that it's probably a range type day. Uh, and so that gives you a little more incentive to take that. But I went short here, and it was just really hard to switch gears instantly and go long again. But if you weren't short here, you really should have gone long anyway, if you're trying to be aggressive. If you're reading the price action, you know what's going to most likely happen there. And the more I think about it, I should have bought it myself. But you got another chance to get in here, and this was the real money maker right here. Um, and we'll talk about this little area right here in just a little bit. Um, but anyway, first trade I saw, you're working down, first entry long, pullback. Second entry long, it fails almost instantly and turns down. Just put your stop right there. And you're probably heading to test this low, and that's exactly where it goes. And this is a nice move, and runners, and take a runner all the way down here. When it probably closed and started bouncing there, exit with your runner. And then you get a first entry, pull back, you get a second entry short. At that point, I didn't have this line here. I had it a little further down here at the low, and so I figured we'd try to test that. So, and you still got a little room to go there, and generally you'll get 2 legs down. You may not get a measured leg because you may bounce here, but this was good enough. It went out the high side, trapped everybody, and went right out the low side. You got just enough. It actually got an extra tick or two. Um, and then I would have put my line probably right there, but when it bounced here and here again, I ended up moving it up to where you get the most touches. That looks like it right there. Um, but anyway, nice second entry short there, and then of course we talked about that, and then it pulls back and it gives you another one here. When it held across there again and it ticked lower, I really liked it then. It took a second, hesitated a second. This is one because of this little bar right in here that didn't break higher. You'd probably let it break higher and then drop a limit order in there just to sneak in a little earlier than that next high. It didn't matter though. It moves on pretty quick. And then it was tempting to go long here, but notice what happened. You had a doji, and then this one closed. Even though it's got a little green, it's one tick from closing on its low. And then this one couldn't go out the high either. So even though that's a trap, and you're not quite back to the trend line, although you may not have known that then, you might have had this a little tighter off the closes. I ended up moving it a little bit earlier, so it did look like it was right off the line. But when it couldn't break higher there, that worried me about this trade. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars stacked up there, several dojis. Nothing could break above there. This is a little congestion area. And it's not really the kind of place you would expect to see congestion. You usually want to see it at lows or at highs. So this just made this suspect to me. And what usually happens, it'll break out and pull back and then go higher. So just kind of wait and see what happens. If you miss a good trade, you just miss a good trade. It happened, you had kind of a repeat pattern here, and it was tempting to want to go long right there, but there was a lot of resistance. So by waiting, you get the trap, and look how bearish that looks, and then it just bounces instantly. And that propels it on. And this was the trade of the day. I mean, you caught a runner there, and you ride this all, 8 or 9 points up. And you draw that line across there where you can kind of see it, and you can see that right there. All your closes, and you get that little failed break lower. The same thing is here. It's just a repeat pattern. And then you get it again here. I mean, I show that trade just about every day lately. You see it once or twice. And if you just take those trades alone, you're going to have a good day. But this was the trade of the day. Man, it took off. But notice, too, that this is just a first entry. Even though this is a form of a second entry here, it broke lower. It never ticked lower. That's another reason to wait. So this is technically the second entry, and you don't really have one yet. If you went to a little smaller chart, you'd probably see a second entry there. But on this 2,000 tick chart, notice we pull back, and we never have a bar that makes a lower high to get that little correction. Even though we went lower right there, I don't think that's good enough with all those bars stacked up there. In fact, I probably should go ahead and circle that. That's just a little congestion area, and it just doesn't look right. Prices were not active. You could tell that people were undecided what was going to go on there. It's like they wanted to take it higher, but nobody was willing to buy it, so they drive it down and trap people, and the trap propels it on. And you'll see that over and over and over. And just like right here, they couldn't get it up there. And so they trap everybody, and then it pushes it. And when it went right on through that EMA right there, you got a little hesitation there, but we weren't quite there. You got a little there, but when it pushes on through, that's a reversal type signal. So you're looking to get long. You just need a good setup. And if you did go long there, you were just a tad early. Wait on that second entry here on this chart, and you get it right here, and you get the trap on top of that. It makes a higher low than these last few. And look at that bullish bar. It opened down here and tried to trade lower and went straight up and closed on its high. Drop you a quick stop in there and go with it. And that was the trade of the day. And it was tempting to enter here, but again, look at all that overlap. Look at all those dojis. Those are dojis. It's a little bit, and you're right into that resistance. I just think you got to skip that one. But guess what? You get up here and you get a failed. Notice this is a new low. It's lower than those swings. First entry short, pull back. There's a failed second entry short, and that's a bullish reversal type bar. I like that one, and it got just enough to get your scalp, and then it kind of goes. It's just kind of a repeat pattern there again, and you get that trap. And like I said, it was a little bit unnerving to try to enter right there, but you know what's probably going to happen. You saw it happen once, twice, and here's the third time in a row, and boom, look at it go. It takes it a minute, but it's once it starts hitting the stops, it takes on off. And I don't think you could enter anymore after that, because now you really already had a break. But sometimes, and it could be that there's maybe another trend line right here, and there's a midline in there. And that's what it looks like it probably is. You can see that. And so um, that's another thought on that one as well. But a lot of times you'll get this break early on, and it'll get back in the trend line, and it keeps working, and you have to get another break and then move to a new high. You don't see that very often, but I think in the end there's probably just a midline there, and this is the actual trend line. And of course the range is the bigger pattern, and you can't go any higher to make a new high, and so it sells off. Um, but notice that double top right there, big double top. It looks real rangy. We've made one move down, one move up, and another move down, and now another move up, and we're all still within that original overnight high and low. There's your overnight low, there's your overnight high, and all the price action still within that, even right here. And so there's a second entry short there. It's not a very good setup. It did go higher first and then turn around and go out the low side, so you might have gone short there. I kept hoping we'd get a tick higher and get that failed second entry long. We didn't. Notice how we're not getting rejection off the EMA, but it's not bouncing either. So it's just kind of hanging around there, and it just kind of takes it a minute to work through, and then it pulls back and tests it and then goes lower. But I like that one because there's a lower or a higher low, so that's a little bit of a correction. And when it broke lower right there, I kind of like that one. I'd probably use a limit order there, and it would have come back and filled you back a tick or so in that, and then off it goes. And then there's another little pullback to test the trend line. I'm not as crazy about that one. Um, if you're in already, you got runners going, so there's no need to risk that. But I guess if you're not in and you see it off that trend line, you might take that. It's not a great setup. Again, the market's so weak it can't even tick higher right there. People recognize the big range and they're trading it. And look at that move right there. That's a beautiful move right there. And notice how it just skips right over that. That usually tells you there's something important there. I don't know why it does it. Maybe there's not as many orders. Their orders are on either side of those areas. I don't know what causes it, but you see that over and over. And notice it's either acting as support or resistance almost every time. Notice how it either prices try to close above it or below it, or the bar actually touches it and close, and turns or whatever. You'll see that over and over, and that usually tells you there's some kind of support and resistance in there, if you notice that. So, but anyway, you got a new low, pull back, first entry, pull back, and that's your first break of this trend line. It's basically right off the EMA of a reversal bar. It's a second entry short. Another nice entry. If you didn't enter there when it turned back and tried to go down, you might have thought about entering if you could get in on a limit order. By that time, you had too many stems in here, in my opinion. It looked like it probably trapped people, and it did go a little lower, but guess where it finds support? It can't go any lower than that. And this line here is kind of acting like a magnet. It's pulling prices from both sides until it finally gets above and bounces and holds and goes higher. But notice that low right there. First entry short, pull back, and that looks really bearish. But look at all those dojis and overlap. This is just a kind of a trading range type area, so you got to be careful. And once you've made this double bottom and then you make two higher lows, that's probably a good place to go long. I circled this one in blue but you just about have to use a limit order here. Um, there's look at all the stems there. I went back and forth about whether or not to make it green, but it's a trap. You're looking for a reversal type pattern here. Um, I think there's enough reasons. It can kind of confirm the trend line. There's two touches there, and it goes higher and comes back and bounces perfectly off of it again. And you're probably heading to the other side, and that's exactly where it goes. It took it a minute, but once it started going, there's no way to get in it again. So if you don't take the chance here, um, but that one's a little tough. It really is. Because of that trap and the trend line, if you saw it, you got to take it. And even if you miss that one, you get another two-legged pullback. You get a little break of this channel right here. But look at that inside bullish bar. Go long right there. And it just rockets right back up. And so now you got your break and new high. And I mean, that was a quick, easy move. And then it's working lower. And that got you past the 2 o'clock hour. There weren't a lot of trades today, but it was, it's a range day and it's fairly straightforward. There's some nice little trends within. And for the most part, the price action played out fairly well. You couldn't get a new high here on your retest. You couldn't get one here, but there's actually a possibility to go long here if on this, what we were talking about, where there's a second entry short here, and then there's that little trap. It really probably trapped more people to the short side than it did the long side. And when it reversed, that's a nice trap. Second entry long on a failed second entry short, counting off the high. So there's even a possibility of going long. I think you were better off just to wait and see what happened, and then you get the trend line working up. And at first I was playing it more like this, but it didn't fit up here later, and that was another reason to kind of play it off that right there. But you see, it looked pretty good at first, but it just really didn't fit in the end, and so I ended up changing it. It's two-tiered right there. But anyway, that's what I saw today. Not a whole lot of trades, but there were some pretty good trades. The volatility and the volume is not quite what we were getting right after the first of the year. Still nothing. I mean, these are still good trading days. Don't take that the wrong way. But we're not getting the volume and the volatility that we had, during the month of January and the first week or so of February. I mean, it was just incredible. The month of January was just probably one of the best months we've had in, I can't even tell you when. I had an incredible January. So, but anyway, I'm not going to beat around the bush today. It's almost 7 o'clock. I'd like to get this uploaded for people. I'm getting these done a little bit later, as I've discussed in some previous videos. And I haven't said this in a while. I want to say it. I've been getting a few emails lately. But understand, if you're new and you're just starting to watch the videos, that we're using a 2000 tick chart. Tick charts are not static like time-based charts. So your chart's not going to look like mine. So don't be concerned and don't try to figure out why your chart doesn't look exactly like mine. We could put 5 different tick charts from the same day and everybody getting their data from the same place, and all our tick charts would probably look a little bit different. That's just the way they are. As long as you're getting the same typical patterns and you're getting the same amount of bars for the most part, that's the best you can ask for, and that's all that matters. And some of these trades will look good on my chart and maybe not as good on yours, and some of them will look better on your chart. In the end, it all works out in the wash. So people get really hung up on the fact that their chart doesn't look like mine. It doesn't matter. Don't worry about that. Don't beat yourself up over it and put a lot of effort into trying to figure it out, because that's just the way tick charts are. So I probably need to remind people of that from time to time. But I'll get emails and people it just tears them up because they can't get their chart to look like mine. But that's just the way tick charts are. And yours are not going to look like mine, and mine's not going to look like yours. I could actually refresh this chart and it would change, because it would put historical data in there and it would look a little bit different then. And let's just do that right quick. I'll just show you, and you watch. It'll change a little bit from what it was earlier. Sometimes it takes a minute. We'll just let it refresh there. Thought it was reloading. There we go. I'm just going to pause the video till it loads. Okay, it reloaded, and you can see that now my lines look a little bit different. Uh, some of my bars look different. I don't know why that's down there like that. I don't know if reloading it had something to do with that. But most of my lines still fit the same way for the most part. The bars look a little, some of the bars look a little bit different. Um, but you can see it didn't really change my chart a whole lot. It just really kind of it changes your bars, but the patterns are all pretty much the same. So anyway, I hope that makes sense to people that your charts are not going to look like mine. No two tick charts look alike. They're not static like time-based charts. So don't be concerned if you can't get your chart to look exactly like mine. It's just the nature of tick charts. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this lesson up. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.